some of those songs were very radical and prophetic. And maybe we don't sing all of those 6,000 hymns today because they were for that time. And there's songwriters emerging in every generation that write for their generation. And the thing is, the song that we're singing, these great songs we sang this morning, they will be the good old hymns of the future. And when our kids grow up, they'll go, oh, happy day. Oh, that's a really old-fashioned song. That's not boring. We need something that's really cutting edge and prophetic. You know, but you see, that's what happens. Today's prophetic songs are tomorrow's good old hymns. Because God is continually creating. See, people say, well, what's God doing today? I don't know what God's doing today, but I know one thing He's doing, is He's creating. Because He's a creative God. He hasn't stopped creating. He didn't create the world all those millions of years ago and then go, right, that's done. Because our God's creative. So He doesn't stop being creative. He's creating all the time. Maybe He's creating all the snowflakes next winter. You know, who knows? But our God is a creative God. And so today, God is creating. And so constantly, if we're worshipping in love with a creative God, we will be creative. And the result of that will be that, you know, as we listen to what God is doing and what God is saying, new songs and new things will emerge. And that's part of just our journey. So we didn't realize what we were doing back in the late 1970s. I began to think, well, I looked at some of the choruses that we were singing and realized that these were written by people who were very much alive. And I thought, well, maybe I could write a song that people could sing. But I was surprised when, you know, the songs that we wrote, something like What Heaven Declares, began to travel around the world. Because we just wrote it in our bedroom and we thought, well, that's okay, we think it works. And then you begin to sing it and the song just has legs and travels. But, you know, we don't set out to write songs that will go around the world, we just write songs that are an expression of our heart. So that's what we started to do, write songs for people that we were leading. And in those days, you know, in a lot of churches you couldn't get the guitar and drums in, you couldn't get a band in, because guitars were of the devil, and drums were definitely from the pit of hell, and electric guitars were definitely from the other side of, you know, devil's kingdom, whatever. Electric guitars, you can't have rock and roll in the church. Rock and roll is of the devil. Well, no, see, what the Bible says, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. So it doesn't belong to the enemy. You know, it's like what William Booth said, why should the devil have all the best tunes? Let's take them back. You know, the church should be writing the best tunes. The church should be writing the best music. You see, if I could go to Germany, Johann Sebastian Bach is just revered as a great composer. He was writing hymns and songs for the church. So, you know, the great songwriters and hymn writers of the past were writing songs for the community. So maybe we should see great songs emerging from the church for our communities. Anyway, I just throw that in for you to think about. So I didn't know what worship was all about. Going to church on a Sunday, we had a little sign on the church wall, you know, like about Sunday worship. And I actually think that there was something holy about the building. But of course there's no holy buildings. See, because God doesn't dwell in a building. He dwells in us. So we're living stones, we're a living temple today, and it's kind of handy that we can use rooms like this, but there's nothing holy about this building. But some people do think that their buildings are holy. I remember once going to a concert at Salvation Army Church in Scotland, and the PA company had come in and they'd set the speakers up, and they put them on what is known as the mercy seat at the front of the Salvation Army Synagogue. And I walked in with my guitar, and this lady, who was obviously one of the old ladies in the church, she started wagging her finger at me and saying, "You've put speakers on the mercy seat." I said, "What?" And he was like, "I'm a total stranger." Like, "Oh, welcome, it's nice to have you here." I mean, if that's how we greet people who walk into our buildings, it's a wonder people aren't getting saved. If that's how we treat strangers that come in. And she was more concerned with the fact that somebody put a speaker on the mercy seat. Or, you know, if I've sat on the communion table, you know, oh, they're expecting thunderbolts to strike me dead because I've sat on. See, there's no holy places. We're living in the New Testament era where, you know, there's nothing holy about this. It's just a piece of wood. You know, it's just, there you go. It does the same job. Only it's easier to pick it up and move it around. There's nothing holy about our buildings. Because we are living temples. We are holy people. You see, and so he's building a temple of holy people. He dwells within us. We're a living temple. Fantastic. But there are places, like this room, maybe is holy ground for some of you. Because you've met with God in a very special way here. You see what I mean? So when you walk in here, you remember what God has done. So in terms of, oh yeah, I've had an encounter with God in this place. But equally, there are places where we can go, maybe throughout Toronto, where they're holy places for us because they're places where we met with God, specifically. We know God is everywhere, but somehow, I mean, Trish remembers a little place near where she grew up. A little field, isn't it, where we met with, it's just sensed the presence of God walking down to that field, wasn't it? Yeah. And that was like a life-changing encounter. So you see, God is all around us today. Today, as we're having our meal and chatting and fellowshipping, there may be a holy moment. See, the whole of today is holy, but there may be that specific holy moment where God just breaks in, something happens in our lives. So there are no holy days. See, I grew up, Sunday was the Lord's Day. I remember once going to a preacher's house on a Sunday, and he had tied up the swing in the garden so his daughter couldn't play on it. Because Sunday is the Lord's Day. See, my idea of God is that he would be swinging on the swing. Do you see what I mean? He doesn't go, right, it's Sunday, I don't swing on swings. It's like he's the same every day. Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if I can't swing on a swing on Sunday, I shouldn't swing on it on Monday. I went to a denomination in the States to lead worship, and I did some of their churches. And what happened was on a Sunday night, I had my band with me, just like the band here, and we did a dancing song. And I didn't know that they didn't allow dancing in the sanctuary. So I'm encouraging dance, and we're all going, pastors having a heart attack in the front row. He never said thank you at the end of the evening. I've never been invited back. It was one of the worst evenings of my life. And then word got around the denomination that I was trouble. So, I got a phone call from this pastor whose church I was going to on Friday night. And he said, I've heard about all the trouble you caused last Sunday. He said, but just to let you know, it's Friday evening, we'll be in the sanctuary, you can encourage dancing. But I wouldn't allow it on Sunday. And I'm thinking, that's schizophrenia. That's a disease. He's mentally ill. This pastor is a nutcase, as we say in Britain. Because he should be in a sanatorium or whatever. Because, he's got this double standard. That in the same auditorium, the same group of people, but it's Friday, and it's okay. But Sunday, God doesn't want dancing. And I think, that's weird. That is strange. But that's what happens when we have holy days. You see, as far as I'm concerned, every day is a holy day. So I'm going to live today knowing that God is with me and walking with me, and He's watching me today as much as He is tomorrow. So every day is holy. And I didn't realize that. So I thought, as long as God got Sunday morning,